Benji is standing in front of a house, a normal house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a little patch of grass out front. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Just a house, and he cannot afford it. Not even close. And the part that will genuinely break your brain is that Benji did everything right. He went to school. He got the job. He saved. He skipped the avocado toast. Yes, he actually did that because someone told him that was the problem. And still, that house on that street in that perfectly average American suburb might as well be on the moon. So what happened? What changed? And why does the answer involve a Federal Reserve meeting, a pandemic, a Wall Street algorithm, and a retired couple in Florida who have no idea they're part of the problem? If this video makes something click that has been bothering you for years, hit subscribe. Because this channel exists for exactly that moment. Let's go back. Not far. Just to 2019. Benji is doing okay. The housing market is warm, but not insane. The average 30-year mortgage rate is sitting around 3.7%. The median home price in America is roughly $258,000. Benji is 28, he has saved about $30,000, he has a stable job, and a lender looks at his paperwork and says yes. He is almost there. Almost. Then 2020 happens. The pandemic hits. The economy freezes. The Federal Reserve panics. And when the Fed panics, it does one thing. It cuts interest rates. All the way down to near zero. Almost free money. The logic is sound. If borrowing is cheap, people spend. If people spend, the economy doesn't collapse. Fine. Reasonable. Except something else happens at the exact same time. Everyone who already owns a home looks at those rates and refinances. Locks in 2.5% for 30 years. A rate so low it will never exist again in their lifetime. They are not going anywhere. Why would they? You don't sell a house with a 2.5% mortgage to buy another one at 7%. That's not a move. That's a punishment. So the people who own homes stay put. And suddenly, America has a supply problem. Here is something most people don't know. The United States was already short on housing before the pandemic even started. According to a 2021 analysis by Freddie Mac, the country was short by roughly 3.8 million housing units. 3.8 million. That gap had been building since the 2008 financial crisis, when home construction collapsed and never fully recovered. Builders got burned. Banks got cautious. Zoning laws in cities made it nearly impossible to build anything dense or affordable. And for over a decade, the number of new homes built each year stayed well below what the population actually needed. Then the pandemic added fuel to a fire that was already burning. Suddenly, everyone wanted more space. City apartments felt like traps. Remote work made suburbs possible. Millennials, the largest generation in American history, hit their prime home buying years all at once, and there was almost nothing to buy. Inventory hit historic lows. In some markets, homes were getting 30, 40, 50 offers. People were waiving inspections, paying $100,000 over asking, buying houses they had never set foot in just from a video walkthrough. The market went feral. And into this chaos stepped a new kind of buyer Benji never expected to compete against. If you haven't heard the name iBuyer before, let me introduce you to Benji's newest nightmare. Companies like Opendoor, OfferPad, and for a terrifying moment, Zillow itself started buying homes. Algorithmically. At scale. They would make all cash offers on houses within 24 hours, close in days, and then flip them. No mortgage approval. No waiting. No emotion. Just capital. And alongside them came the institutional investors. The big ones. BlackRock. Invitation Homes. American Homes for Rent. These firms had been quietly building massive portfolios of single-family homes since 2012 after the last crash. By 2022, institutional investors owned somewhere between 3 and 5% of the single-family rental market. That sounds small, but in specific cities. Atlanta, Phoenix, Charlotte, Jacksonville. Their presence was enormous. In some zip codes, they were buying 1 in every 4 or 5 homes listed. Not to live in. To rent. Forever. Benji is not competing with another family. He is competing with a hedge fund with $1 billion in dry powder. So, interest rates are near zero. Supply is near zero. Demand is at historic highs. And corporations are buying everything that isn't nailed down. What does that do to prices? You already know. The median American home price went from $258,000 in 2019 to over $400,000 by late 2021. Some markets saw 30, 40, even 50% price increases in a single year. In Boise, Idaho. In Austin, Texas. In suburbs of Nashville and Raleigh that nobody had heard of 5 years earlier. Places that were supposed to be the affordable alternative were no longer affordable. And Benji, who had been saving diligently, who had not touched his down payment fund, watched his purchasing power evaporate in real time. Then the Fed changed its mind. By 2022, inflation was raging. The same cheap money that had propped up the economy during the pandemic had too much enthusiasm. Prices for everything went up. Groceries, gas, rent. And the Federal Reserve decided the only cure was pain. It raised interest rates faster than it had in 4 decades. The federal funds rate went from near 0 to over 5% in roughly 18 months. Mortgage rates, which had been hovering around 3%, shot past 7%, then past 7.5%. In late 2023, they briefly touched 8%, a level not seen since the year 2000. Do you know what 8% does to a monthly payment? On a $400,000 home with a standard 20% down payment, your monthly mortgage at 3% would have been around $1,349. At 7.5%, that same home costs you $2,237 per month. That is $888 more every single month. Over the life of the loan, you pay roughly $320,000 more in interest alone, not principal, interest. Money that builds nothing, equity in nothing. Just the cost of needing shelter in a country that decided housing was an investment vehicle. Benji does the math on his phone. He puts it face down on the table. And here is the cruelest twist of all. The rate hikes that were supposed to bring home prices down didn't. Not really. Not meaningfully. Prices softened in some markets. They corrected slightly. But they did not crash. Because of the lock-in effect. Remember those homeowners who refinanced at 2.5%? They are still not moving. They would rather die in that house than give up that rate. And so inventory stayed frozen. Supply stayed low. Demand for millennials did not disappear just because rates went up. People still needed somewhere to live. And so prices stayed stubbornly, painfully, almost insultingly high. High rates, high prices, low supply. The worst possible combination for someone trying to buy their first home. Economists have a term for this. They call it a lock-in effect, creating a dysfunctional market. Robert Dietz, chief economist at the National Association of Home Builders, described it as a situation where the normal levers the Fed uses to cool a market simply do not work the same way when existing homeowners are frozen in place. You cannot increase supply from existing homes. You can only build new ones, and building new ones is slow and expensive and blocked in many cities by zoning laws written when this problem did not exist. By 2026, Benji is 35. He has been trying to buy a home for 4 years. His rent has gone up 40% in that time because his landlord, who does own a home, is passing on their costs and then some. His down payment savings, which he has been carefully protecting, represent a smaller and smaller percentage of prices that keep refusing to fall. He is not irresponsible. He is not lazy. He is not making bad choices. He is running on a treadmill that someone else is controlling. And the people who tell him to simply move somewhere cheaper do not understand that somewhere cheaper is where everyone else is already moving, which means somewhere cheaper is no longer cheap. Here's the part nobody talks about. The mental weight of this. A 2023 survey by Bankrate found that 78% of prospective homebuyers said the current market had caused them significant stress. Not mild concern. Significant stress. A separate study by Redfin found that nearly half of all millennials who did not own a home had given up hope of ever owning one. Not paused their search. Given up. That is not a housing statistic. That is a statement about the American dream in 2026 and whether people still believe it applies to them. Benji still believes it. Barely. He checks Zillow most nights around 10 p.m. after dinner, before bed, in the blue light of his rented apartment, looking at houses he cannot afford, in neighborhoods he cannot reach, with payments that do not fit inside any reasonable version of his life. It is a strange kind of hope. Half dream, half habit. And here is what Benji doesn't fully know yet. The system was not designed to fail him. But it was not designed to protect him either. It was designed to reward ownership. And in a country that rewards ownership, those who already own pull further ahead. Every year, every rate hike, every refinance, every rent increase that flows from someone else's mortgage payment to someone else's equity. Benji is not the exception. Benji is the generation. So the next time someone asks why young people aren't buying homes, don't tell them it's avocado toast. Tell them about 3.8 million missing units. Tell them about the lock-in effect. Tell them about institutional buyers with all cash offers and no emotional attachment to a neighborhood. Tell them about the fastest rate hike cycle in 40 years happening on top of a supply crisis that started in 2008. Tell them about Benji, standing in front of a house, a normal house, doing the math on his phone one more time, and putting it face down on the table. If this hit different than you expected, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. And share this one, because someone in your life is Benji right now and doesn't have the words for why.